We've got a 4-way blade off today. Welcome, I'm Mark Crossfield. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. And if you're not, if you're already subscribed, ring that bell, ding, 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 ring that bell to make sure you don't miss out on another great video. I'm getting a lot of people at the moment asking me what is the best blade at the moment. So I've picked 4 of my favorites. Titleist MB, this is the 620 version. Mizuno MP20, no blade off can be complete without that one. Apex MB, plus the Srixon Forged. Let's show you what these clubs can do and can't do. I've got one that's a 7, we'll talk about that, why that's not a problem. We can work that into the daily, even though some people do panic about that, but don't worry, we can work that in. And we've got a fun little competition at the end. What makes the best blade? Is there such a thing? So let's kick this off with the all-important looks. I've put these down in a bit of a random order. I'm gonna tell you which one I think looks the best. I kind of can spot them, but I kind of can't as well because they're all very similar. So this one at the end is one of the longest blade lengths, and it's also got the thicker top edge, and that's the Srixon. I've just spotted it from the grip here. So looks good, but looks bigger than the others. Thinnest is maybe this one, which I'm guessing is the Titleist, or the Callaway, then this one, and then I can spot a Mizuno a mile off, which is that one in the middle. So when it comes to really slender top lines, these two definitely are doing that if that's what you want. So they look the most aggressive, the most bladey, the most traditional. Titleist just sneaking the Callaway, but very similar. If you compare that up, look to the Z Forged, you could probably see even from this angle, let's see how this one is definitely a flatter, which appears thicker top line. And then the Mizuno is kind of in the middle really of them all. And then it kind of follows that pattern. The most face down by the ball is the Mizuno MP20, and then the Srixon, I would say, are the two. So the medium to thicker top line and those slightly bigger appearing heads give you more of a face down by the ball, where the Callaway and the Titleist, definitely it's like not much face. You feel like the ball is like engulfing the face, if that makes sense. If you catch it slightly heel and toe, you just don't feel like there's much out there. Obviously this is all very anecdotal, because if you measure them, it's minuscule differences, but those appearances when you put them down by the ball are something that might sway you into liking one over the other. And we're going to show you the data on all these clubs. You'll see how close they get, which is what you'd expect from basically hunks of metal. So when it comes to picking the best looking, I can tell you what I think is the best looking, but I have categories within categories. So I think the Titleist is one of the best looking for a blade, but I would never game this one. I played Titleist and I wouldn't really game this club. You know, I might game it in a short iron, for instance, but I'd never game it in the 6 upwards here, because it just looks too slender. Where the Srixon and Mizuno, I would game them more because they look very bladey and as thin as I want it to look, while offering a bit more face down by the ball. Again, just something I might like to look at that point. So if you want slender, slim, really sexy looking irons, it's the Callaway and the Titleist. If you want something that has some of those elements but is slightly more functional, it's the Srixon and the Mizuno. So we're going to kick it off with the Titleist. Let's have a field test as we start collecting a bit more data. This is the add-on to data I've already collected. So the Titleist, as you would imagine, feels fantastic. It's got that bladey sound and feel. So words I would use to describe that is it feels solid, it feels firm, it feels true. I don't feel like there's any fire in there. I feel like the fire comes from if I put any fire in. Call that medium to slightly toey, but it's still doing fine, which again, if you look at that one, the anecdotal idea of it being bigger and smaller at the start, it's playing so much more into my mind, I think. So Titleist looks, sounds great. We compare that up to the Callaway. It has a little button on the back, very true at the back, like bladey appearance, just the barring. Again, it's a small face and it's a very slender top line, next to no offset in any of these clubs. Again, this just looks so good. Again, the feel of those two, very similar, next to nothing in that at all. I don't think I would be able to tell blind tested between this and the Titleist. For sound stroke feel, again, it's that solid, God, that's gone out there, isn't it? Really firm, true feel. You've just got to be confident of what you're looking down at, basically. Yeah, that feels good. Looks gorgeous. Z Ford Srixon. Now, I'm sponsored by Srixon, so make of this what you will. They have no say on the outcome of this video. They don't even know I'm doing it. It'll be my opinion. I have gamed these clubs as well, but I'll be as honest as I can be with you on which one I think is best. Again, the moral of any of these videos, you need to test these clubs yourself, because there's going to be so many feels that play into what actually comes out the other end. So the Srixon definitely more face down by the ball, like considerably more bat down by ball, which again I quite like because I'm miles away from these clubs really now, apart from my wedge. So again, that's going to play into what you want your club to look at, and as you're going to see from all these clubs, they're going to bunch up very closely. Because why would you be buying a club like this in a bladed market? Well, it's going to be looks, it's going to be feel, it might even be a little bit of ego, but at the same time it's going to be the ideas of truer performance basically. So what I mean by that is you're going to get what you put in. What you put in this end is going to come out that end. Which at the same time is why some people might think they don't want to game these, which is fine and good. I don't, because they might not be feeling they're putting enough in this end and want a bit of help. In theory, these are going to help you the least, whatever that means actually in general play is debatable at the same time. Again, not much in that. If anything, I would say the Srixon feels a fraction softer than the other two, but that might be even just more that I'm used to the sound of this one. Lastly, the Mizuno. I mean, they do just look fantastic, the shaping, everything about this. And the thing I think with the Mizuno, and a little bit with the Srixon, but maybe most with the Mizuno, when it comes to a blade that offers maybe the help of other cavity back ideas, I don't reckon many people are beating what this club does. I've tested this club against bigger, chunkier, more kind of cavity back clubs, and it does amazingly for what we put into the blade bracket. Don't be afraid, this is a 7 iron. If we see slightly different distances as well, I'll show you the numbers and how we can relate that in. I just haven't got a 6 iron in this club at the moment, but again, I'm not worried about that because I know my numbers. Looks great, sounds great. Again, that just sounds good. Like, it does feel good. It's a cliche, it's a tagline, nothing feels like a Mizuno, which is basically kind of sound. They do work hard on the acoustics. Obviously, if you want full tech on all these clubs, go to the website and check out the tech. It's, you know, it's a hunk of metal at the end of the day, but obviously there's bits of tech coming up as I hit each one of these clubs, so I'll give you an idea of what they're all trying to do as much as they can with this club, and I wouldn't say anyone's doing anything more than others. Possibly apart from Mizuno in the sound stroke feel department, slightly ahead, but that could be just my opinion rather than a fact. Because feel obviously is so subjective to me around the sound and what I want it to feel like and sound like, those kind of ideas. Looks great, sounds great. Yeah, that's just on the money. Again, you can see why people do wax lyrical about Mizuno, and you can see why lots of uncontracted tour pros often kind of levitate towards this kind of iron. It does tick so many boxes. That sounds and feels brilliant. So I'm just going to collect a bit more data with these to get a good data set. And in the comments down below, let me know, do you really buy into the tech of any of these manufacturers? And certainly when it comes to this kind of club, I think the main buying premise around this club for me would be those looks and feels, and we're going to show you the data in a second. Got a fun game at the end. So let's show you the numbers of these 4 clubs. So we're very, very tight. 176, 177, 172 in distance, with the Mizuno obviously 164, that bit short, which you would expect. It needs to be between 7 and 12 yards shorter, which it kind of is with all 3. And you see the spin jumps up to the 7 because it's a different lofted club, where the spin is very close with all the other. Standard deviation of these 2 that look the most different, obviously still crossing those over to arguably call them not a difference. If we look at the delivered loft, so obviously the 7 iron is 27 as you'd expect, but then we're 24, 23.4, 24.9, so just delivered a fraction more loft with the Titleist, which is why we see that slight discrepancies, you could argue, in distance and then in turn in spin, and see how it's launching a fraction higher. But again, the standard deviation to most of these crossover, and you can see that here from the circles in these patterns. Look how they're all overlapping tapping, which is exactly what I would want to see. And obviously where distance is such a thing that we all chase, me included, and not maybe everyone chases, but it's such a buzzword at the moment with what Bryson's doing and what have you. When it comes to distance with these irons, I want them to go to distance they need to go. I don't need them to go further, I need me to go further. That's the most important thing. So one going further, I wouldn't see it as a win over the other one. That's just the club that hits that distance. The bigger question in your sets is, have I got the clubs to hit different distances, and have I got the skills with the clubs married together to hit those different distances, rather than thinking, oh, one's gone further, so therefore it is better. Certainly in irons, and when there's a 5-iron or a hybrid above these clubs, depending on where you stop in your irons, that's not something I personally would say makes a club better. Very kind of YouTube driven, like let's get clicks idea, almost that. My shot pattern is very much the same with all of them. The Srixon fractionally closer, but I think that was the third one I hit, so maybe working out my swing changes a little bit more, and I could easily move that shot pattern very easily by just aiming a bit further to the right. Very, very good, as you can imagine, all very hard to choose. So I'm going to go maybe the easiest, not only in the fact that it's a 7, but I think one of the friendliest blades you can get, while at the same time remaining all the kind of blade characteristics that people are looking for, against the most slender in appearance and feeling like the least amount of help in the Callaway, and obviously it's a 6 as well. So the Mizuno should win hands down. We're going to have to move closer for the 6 to compete with the 7, which I'll do in the software, and at the same time I've got the most friendly against what I would argue is the least friendly, for want of a better word. Not that I'm saying that this is any least friendly than the others, if that makes sense. Let's show you from the test. So we're basically going to go 180 against 170 yards. So 181, Callaway. 17th foot sawgrass, tiny green. Which one works? Surely the 7-iron has to win this game, doesn't it? And you're going to find that I go left a lot because I've changed my grip and I'm struggling a bit. So perfect for distance, and there's my shot shape playing out. Unfortunately, that is finished 11 yards to the pin. But I would class that as a decent shot, apart from me working on my start angle. Felt great. So we've moved to 170, Mizuno. So we're 10 yards, 11 yards, because I just clicked it slightly in the wrong place closer. Let's see if I can get this 7-iron there, and a little straight. 11 yards to beat. Which one wins in the comments? The 7 definitely feels, as you look down at the ball, so much friendlier. That's just a good shot. I'll take that all day long. So we're 12 foot 5 inches. That one wins, obviously. So we'll do the Mizuno again, so we don't have to change the software. This is round 2, best of 3. That's a little bit out of the bottom. You see it's going in that little bit lower, but look how it's performing. I mean, it's a yard from the other one inland. Amazing, like we talk about how much they help. That was a different strike. That's 10 foot 2 inches. So that was the last strike. You can see it's that little bit lower. Callaway at 181, 10 foot 2 inches to beat. It's gonna go left slightly again. That's a really good hit as well. It's gonna catch the green though. Sit, definitely stronger this one. So that's 20 foot 4 inches, and if you looked at my dispersion with a 7 to an 8, you'll probably find that this pattern will continue. And so what I mean by that, for this 6 to compete with that 7 from 10 yards closer, well, it's probably got, without me looking at my exact numbers, 6 to 10 feet difference off the top of my head. I class that as a good shot. Let's stay with the 6. So you could argue that's a win for the Mizuno, but for me as testing, and this is where if you're testing clubs, you've got to be working in which one feels better, which one looks better. I mean, for me on that occasion, it would be the Mizuno because I want a bit more head down by the ball, but you ask someone else who doesn't, they're going to pick this one on that batch of shots. Again, just my pull. I'm going to give the Callaway one more go because I want to hit one where I don't pull it long left, because that isn't the club. So I'm trying to fade that, where what I'm going to do is just play that shot for this last one. Kind of ideas I would do out on the course a little bit. If swing foot wasn't coming off, I would just play the shot that's coming out. So you see I've tried to start that up the right, and look, golf, brilliant, isn't it? It didn't actually go left, but that's going to be a pretty decent shot for how far away from the pin. So we'll take that one for the last one, 26 foot 2 inches. And just for fun, because we know the Mizuno's won already, to give you an idea, I'm going to try and hit this 7-iron 182, because obviously when you're hitting your irons, you might play hard ones, soft ones, and these are blades. Can you actually play flat out shots, or is there just not enough club to help you? So I'm going to give this an almighty wallop. and that's absolutely fine. The strike's no different, and you're going to find that's probably getting front edge to up there, because I've nailed that. Oh, that's the best of all of them. Hard 8, that's the answer. Oh, hard 7, sorry. 10 foot 6 inches. Which one would you choose and why? For me, I think it's the Srixon and the Mizuno if you want a fraction more help, but if you want that real bladed look, you would go more in the Callaway and the Titleist. Sound and feel, Mizuno possibly, followed by Srixon, but it's so minimal out of all of them. Really hard to choose, like a best there. What one would you choose and why? Definitely when it comes to these irons, they're very good looking. You just need to be careful if it's your ego buying clubs or practicality, because I've only got a wedge in this. I used to game more of them, but I'm much more game improvement friendly nowadays. It's obviously a fun video, but maybe not for everyone. But 4 very good ones, hard to pick. Your agenda would pick it for you.